So I want to make this clear that we are in a major climate change, and let's say we have 100 species, and about 50% of those species won't be able to handle the next climate change. But they do have the opportunity to evolve, and they do have the opportunity to consider all information that they have the ability to consider. Doesn't mean they're going to be able to develop an outcome that's favorable for them, but they have the opportunity to consider information and make their own choices. And so I don't respond to anyone with specific questions about their situation, as well as respond to anyone who posts a link in my messages with people talking about vitamin D deficiencies or other deficiencies and how they characterize it or what they use to remedy whatever they choose to remedy their situation with. And so, it's not for me it's not for me to answer. Okay, let's say we have 100 species and 50% of them won't have what it takes to handle climate change. No matter what I say, if you don't have it within you to process information and make the changes in your world and characterize things in such a way and talk to the necessary people in your world, there's nothing that, it doesn't matter what my thought processes are around anyone's info. It won't matter. It's completely irrelevant. My opinion, my thoughts, my anything about anyone out there with their belief system, galvanizing like minds with the same thought process. It's not my place to go and counter them and say, well, no, they're wrong. If you don't have thoughts about other people's information, if you don't have your own thoughts and you're requiring somebody else to say, okay, what do you think? At this point, it's beyond your scope of survival, beyond my scope of even, I'm not the professional here. You got to talk to your doctor. Talk to your doctor. I may have answered Jane Driscoll's question in the group, not the group shit, the public page about blood transfusions and acquiring diseases. But you don't necessarily get diseases just from blood transfusions, though, yes, there are. Obviously, it could happen, yes. But you can acquire diseases through sex, through all types of therapies, through inhaling microbes, through traveling, okay? Disease acquisition is not that difficult in a slow frequency and in a high frequency. And then the ability to assimilate to the changes in the climate, like lack of sun or too much sun. You have to support that change properly. And so when I've made that assertion that if we had 1,000 years and one person was able to change their melanin based upon their geographical location to where if they were outside most of the time and they were Caucasian and they were allowed to be sick and they lived near the equator instead of, up near the North Pole, if they had the food and the support system and the rest and release, yeah, they could potentially turn black. They could have a darker melanin based upon the geography and their lifestyle. And then someone from, let's say, near the equator, let's say Africa, any place where they have darker melanin, a lot more melanin, and they ended up going up to Northern Europe or the North Pole, and they were allowed to be sick and not be cured, and they weren't reproducing children and everything else. And the hormone's like, okay, well, we need to release the melanin and acquire the vitamin D from the sun, and they would have to be sick to do that. They could eventually turn white, Caucasian. But that would be over a lot of sickness, many years. You'd have to be in that environment for a long time for the body to adapt to its conditions. So, yeah, my thoughts about anything about what these influencers are saying on the podcasts and the health and wellness community, it's irrelevant to what I think. They're working from a specific platform, a specific adaptation level, and intolerance adaptation. So you'd have to understand everything and then put it all together and figure out if it's good for you. And that's why I'm saying, it doesn't matter what I think. What I think is relevant about what anybody else does. And so that's why I put my information out there. You can process it and determine for yourself what's appropriate for you. But no, I am not going to advise anyone or counter any specific person representing a population that is intolerant to climate change. And there are many, many influencers who are intolerant to climate change and air, food, and water, and they will put out their protocols that they think is going to work for other people that may or may not have worked for them. And that's coming from their perspective, and they attract like-minded people, immunologically like organisms who have a beef with change. So I can't speak on that. I can't force people to suffer, and I can't take away their suffering. So there's nothing for me to say. I put my information out there. You figure it out for yourself. I've been trying to tell you guys that for a while. It doesn't matter what I think about anyone out there. But I give my observations, make my assertions, try to give both sides to the issue, and then I walk the fuck away from any kind of fight, war, or competition. It's not my fight. It's not my battle. All right, bye.